Hi everybody, it's time for your Farm and Ranch news. Well, Washington insiders say that China is looking to purchase up to 30 million tons of crops from the U.S. to help rebuild its state stockpiles. The Asian country is looking to protect itself from further supply chain disruptions brought on by the COVID-19 outbreak. Now, trade experts say it would also help China make good on its Phase 1 trade agreement promises to buy more U.S. crops. China, they say, is planning to buy approximately 10 million tons of soybeans, 20 million tons of corn, and 1 million tons of cotton, and add them to its state reserves. Now, Reuters says those numbers come from a couple of sources who were actually briefed on the government's plan. And as I said earlier, the bulk of the crops are expected to come from right here in the United States. In some other news, another huge meat plant has been closed indefinitely within the United States. Trade experts say the country is just a few weeks away now from meat shortages. Tyson Foods on Thursday said it was shuttering its beef facility in Pasco, Washington, while team members undergo testing for COVID-19. Now, at least 8 major U.S. meat facilities have seen halts in the space of just a few weeks. The U.S. government also recently pushed out its monthly figures on frozen food inventories, which stood in sharp relief against the backdrop of these closures. Combined pork, beef, and poultry supplies in cold storage facilities now stands equal to roughly 2 weeks of total U.S. meat production. Well, stay with us. We'll have more ag news right after this. Well, the final replacement rule for the controversial Obama-era Waters of the U.S. or WOTUS rule is now published in the Federal Register. The American Farm Bureau Federation's Don Parrish says the new navigable waters protection rule that replaces WOTUS actually adds clarity in its definitions and exclusions, making farming and ranching easier. Among some of the big wins, he says, for agriculture include exclusions for potholes, ditches, stock ponds, and other land features that fill when it rains, and for prior converted cropland.
We know that impacts a lot of acreage, particularly acreage that is maybe some of our best agricultural lands. We appreciate and support the need to protect true wetlands, but things that were converted back around the turn of the last century, the early 1900s, that have been farmed, that will continue to be farmed, will be some of the most productive agricultural land in the country.
Now, Parrish says Farm Bureau's next focus amid this ongoing coronavirus pandemic is the actual food supply chain itself, and of course, making sure that consumers continue to have an ample food supply. And finally, the National Cattlemens Beef Association has sent a letter to the USDA urging against payment limitations for cattle producers under the Coronavirus Food Assistance Program. NCBA's Vice President of Government Affairs, Ethan Lane, says the economic damage to cattle producers across the country continues to mount due to the COVID-19 crisis. And he says the low payment cap of $125,000 per commodity will prevent many operations, large and small, from receiving enough assistance to soften the blow. NCBA, though, is hopeful that USDA will move quickly to outline additional plans for the $14.4 billion also allocated to damage assistance under the CARES Act and provide assurance that producers across all segments receive equitable assistance from these very critical funds. Well, that's a look at your farm and ranch news. Have a great day.